I can become someone that no one thinks I can be. And just me talking about that, I have the hair going up on my arms because it makes me just like, what if?
They don't know me, son.
Get it. 18.
They don't know me, son.
Get it. 19.
They don't know me, son. Who's gonna carry the boats and the logs? Who's
One more.
gonna carry the boats? Who's gonna carry the fucking boats?
I want you to think about me, knowing that I'm comfortable, being very unfucking comfortable.
Who's gonna carry the fucking boats?
It comes from a disgusting place of afraid of dying, having never accomplished anything.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the War Within podcast. Today we have another special guest. He is 50 years old, been a natural bodybuilder for 19 years, won his pro card in 2009, pro for 16 years, been in the car business for 33 years, used the hardcore drag race, as well as started back not too long ago out of high school, ended up with a well-known twin-turbo Chevy Camaro that made 2,000 plus horsepower. Hey, boy.
Yeah, that was my Kimbrell, baby.
Then sold the old life for the treasures of the kingdom, which set him free and changed his life forever. He still bodybuilds, he still competes, and this is Josh Kimbrell. We're glad to have you on here, man.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here.
Now, hey, man, I'm glad you came. I know you just recently retired, and so you could be doing anything else. You know what I mean?
Could be, man. But you find out. Well, I found out there's a difference between your work and your job. While I was working, I thought that was my work, but it wasn't my work. It was actually my job, because what I learned is that we all start off with 24 hours a day. We all have the same amount of wealth, and those 24 hours is what we call in this planet currency. There's no amount of money on earth can pay for them. How you spend your 24 hours determine your quality of life, determines your quality of death. So what I keep trying to explain to people is, whatever it is that you want to become, whatever you want to do, be or have, that's where you spend your time. Because if you spend your time with a fool, what are you going to buy with that? Because everything that you spend with your time, you buy life with your time. In other words,
for sure.
So
I say that that's a good metaphor, especially because I pick up pennies, I pick up change off the ground.
You know, I learned about that years ago. Man.
I've had people be like, "Man, there's a penny," hey, look,
it adds up.
You know how many minutes, seconds, hours, years that penny has traveled through somebody's work schedule, their life, things that they look. There is a dollar bill has a lot of currency in it, because there's people that have given 30 years of their life plus, and then essentially died over that dollar bill.
Yeah.
Or, it's very powerful.
Too.
You know what I mean?
It's real powerful. We're gonna get
very
into that
powerful.
too, man.
So, hey, give us a basic rundown. Start with kind of like a childhood. Where we're born, which you know what I mean, kind of where you came from, and maybe like a little background of other than like the bodybuilding stuff. Obviously, we'll get to that, but just give us a rundown of where you came from and how you got to where you are, kind of.
Well, just like anybody, I was born poor.
Yep.
Which is, man, once you learn where you come from to where you are, and you can look back of your life, man, it just, to me, it's rewarding and it's fulfilling, because I grew up in East St. Louis, Centerville, grew up with the guys, man, and went to school, and I learned a lot, and I did the things that we as kids were taught. You get up, you go to school, then as you get a little bit older, in high school, you start chasing girls. Because I just went to school to learn, because that's what I was taught. And then my high school, in high school, my senior year, guess what? You want to be like a senior. You want to go out and chase and skip. And once you have enough credits, I can not, go to this class here and did all those things and then graduated. And then next you start finding your buddy, you find your good friend. And you start going to clubs and thinking that was the way to happiness and so on and so forth. And you start getting into cars and you start getting into jobs. I did all those things. I never would say that I was a bad kid by any means. I was a good kid. But there was, my mom raised us. My dad was always around. And one thing I learned about family, man, even though my mom and dad, when they were together, they were together. But when they weren't together, my dad was always there, man. Our family was always there. I can always remember that to this day, is that my aunt, my uncles, my kids, we all went to my grandpa's house. They barbecued, and the kids ran around, and family stayed family no matter what. Even though, again, my mom and dad weren't together, but they were still family. Nowadays, man, a lot of husbands or boyfriends and girlfriends, they get mad at each other, and they split up, and they don't want to talk to them, even though it's not the kids' fault. The kids still need to see dad, and the kids still need to see mom. Because those are the examples that's going to influence them for the rest of their life, but they don't understand now what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, it's what I've learned is, and for me, is to give people as much information as I can, because information changes situations. And the more information that you have, knowledge is power.
Yes.
Bottom line. And the more knowledge you have, the more it can help you, the more you can help somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it's about. But again, me growing up, doing all that stuff, going to clubs, me and my guy Daryl, man, we had a great time. And then I ended up working for, my grandfather worked at Weber Chevrolet. He was there for 49 and a half years. Not Weber.
Really?
Bob Brocken, I'm sorry.
Really?
For 49 and a half years.
So your family's been in the car business for a long time. So that's crazy. That's something new. Usually you hear like maybe a trade, multiple family members in a trade, but you're saying the car business, car sales and everything. This is, I would have never thought that.
I only had 3 jobs in my entire life. Yeah. Well, my grandfather, Willie, man, I'll never forget him, man. He wanted me to come out there because him and Bob Brocken were like this. He was his right-hand man. And Bob owned the dealership before, it was Carmody Pontiac before Bob owned the dealership. So I started down there in 1992 as a porter. My grandfather was a lube specialist. So when he retired, I think in 97, I wanted his job. But Bob says, no, I want you to come up front and start selling cars. Because he had this respect for me, or this kind of love for me, or whatever the case may be. So I'm like, okay. So I went up there and I became a salesman ever since. And when I left Brockland, I think back in 2008, then I went to Weber Chevrolet. And I just retired there last year, man. It's just been unbelievable.
At the ground the whole time?
Yep.
That's been there that long?
Yeah, before it was Weber, I think it was a Novotny Chevrolet before Skip bought it, or George bought it.
I got you.
And then, like I said, been there. And then again, going from there, going through all the cars and everything else, man, I thought that it was about making money. Yeah. That's my whole goal was, how much money? Maybe my guy Reggie. Man, I guess I bet I can make more money. You can make this year. Yeah. We used to always fight who was, competition of who had the best salary. I think he was working for I can't think of it. I can't even think of it right now, man. My brain's throwing a fart or whatever the case may be. But he was whooping my tail for quite a bit, and I got him quite a few times. But again, as the time started going on, and I never forget this, probably 8-9 years ago, my guy Jerome came in to my office, because me and Daryl, we were brothers for years. We started off in, I guess, back in high school. Yeah. And he told me how we met was, he was like, man, I got this speaker that I made, because we was in the stereo system and stuff like that, And he took me, I went by his house, but he never showed me a speaker. He said it was in his basement. So he kind of lied to me. But that's how we became brothers, man, best buddies. And Jerome and Daryl was pretty cool, because he started working over at Sears. And he was one of the parts guys in the back where occasion be, and he tried to bear it, but that never did pan out. And then when I went to Brockland as a porter, I ended up getting him a job there. So he's still there now, and that's how we was really, really close. But Jerome came to me, man, and Jerome was always in the church. He was a really good dude, but he came to me, he says, man, God's going to stretch you. I was like, man, I didn't know what that meant. I sat back and I was scared, what I mean, I can't go out anymore. I can't party. I can't do this. I can't do that stuff. I didn't know what that meant. But over the years, man, he started showing me little stuff at a time, because if he try to dump everything on you one time, it'll kill you. So he just started showing me little stuff at a time, man, and it just changed my life. And over the last 3-4 years, it just, boom, skyrocket. Because one thing I learned is whatever you have an interest in, he'll give you more. It's because you want to know. Mm-hmm. Those people don't want to know.
Just like we were talking about earlier. I get where you're going with it.
So, and it's man, he said the knowledge has been given to you, but not to them.
Yeah.
Why? It's because they don't want to know. They don't have no interest. They just want to hear. They want to see miracles. They want to eat. They want to go and gossip. but you left your home, you left your wife, you left your family, you left everything. So I'm going to tell you the secrets. And in order to live in my kingdom, because this whole thing is really about us to give, man. I got a lot to show, man.
So Jerome, so he said that to you, and then what transpired? You started going to church, or what happened?
No, I was always in the church, and this thing too. We would go to church on Sundays.
Yeah.
We would go out on Friday night, stay out all night, Saturday night, all night, and get up and go to church on Sundays.
Yeah.
And I would feel good on Sundays. Oh yeah, pumped up, and then forget everything I heard.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't forget it, but it makes you feel good. But I had no power. I was still empty. When we was talking about churches, man, I was in Texas this past week, and the lady was like, I'm going to tell you this story. I went up to her because I'm always trying to pay it forward, and this is how I became debt-free. So I went and stood in line, and this lady was sitting there, and this older gentleman, and she kind of looked at me for a minute like, what are you doing here, wherever the case may be? So, I'm still going to be nice, smile a little bit. She looked back, kind of gestured, I said, I'm going to pay for her stuff. She says, what? I says, I'm going to pay for her stuff. Really? The guy didn't hear me. I said, yeah. I like to do stuff like that. So I got up there and I paid for it. I said, why'd you do that? I said, man, because that's how I became debt-free. Once I became a giver, that's when he paid off everything. And that's just one of the keys how the kingdom works. That lady was kind of mean to me, but by the end of that session, she was hugging me. She was like, what? I couldn't believe it. I want to go to church and this, that, and the other. I said, no, baby, you are the church. People think churches are buildings. Right. Buildings are temporary. Right. The people are the church. So when people meet you, they're supposed to meet him. By your love, by your love, by your touch, by your aura, your presence is supposed to represent the king because children represent their parents. That's why whatever it is that you do in life, I learned this too, by what you say and by what you believe. Bottom line, everything that you say comes back to you. Whatever you believe, you'll see. How did God create this? By speaking, right? God created everything with his words. When Jesus went to the tree and there was no figs on it, what did he do?
Shrivel that thing up.
He spoke to. He didn't pick up a hatchet like we would do and sweat for 5 hours and chop it down. Yeah. He spoke to it. So if you are made in the same image of your Father, you have the same authority. You have the same power. And that's what my whole goal is, to make sure I try to tell people and explain to them who they are, because people don't know who they are. Right. They don't know where they come from. Yeah. And everybody's looking, everybody's searching for the kingdom. They're searching for this treasure, but they don't know what they're looking for. I know what it is, because when I found it, that's what set me free. So my whole goal in my job is to make sure I share that message, to share that treasure with them so they can be debt-free, pressure-free, stress-free, worry-free, because we were never designed by God to work for a living. We were designed, he created us in his image and his likeness. What did he tell Adam? He says, I made this planet here, and I want you to have dominion over the earth. I want you to rule that planet for me. When he says, pray, make heaven, earth just like heaven. I want heaven to come to earth. Fish, birds, creeps, animals, all those on the list, but humans are not on the list. But there's so many people who love to rule. It's in our genes, man. Everybody has a rulership spirit built in them. Mm-hmm. We all are managers. Yes. By trait. Nobody on this earth like to be told what to do.
Yeah, whenever I had Pastor Justin over here, we were talking about this, because that's the hardest concept. You know, look, I don't know as obviously even as close to as much of the word as you do. I'm just getting back into it, but we were talking about just like the whole, you got Adam and Eve, then, they sinned. And then basically every human being after that is born into sin, and it's hard to grasp that, and like he was explaining it out, it's like whenever you have a baby, you got this baby. Yeah. And it's crying and everything else, and then once it gets a little bit older, it's getting into stuff, and it just naturally sins. You know what I mean? Right. And whereas whenever Jesus Christ came to earth, he was in the flesh as a baby, grew up just like me and you, but never sinned, and that's the most powerful thing ever, because especially if you go off the out of the word, whenever I look at some girl lusting on her, I'm sinning, so for Jesus to be able to walk in the flesh, we know that we battle with flesh every day. I mean, I can get angry really quick. I'll, cuss, all this stuff, and it's amazing to think that God came here and just was perfect. But I want you to explain exactly, the whole, why we're born into sin and everything, because like I said, I'm trying to
Sure.
grasp a lot of this stuff. I'm
Absolutely.
trying to grow in this aspect. So yeah.
You know what sin means?
No.
Sin means to rebel.
Okay.
That's what sin means. Most people think sin means to lie, to chill, to steal, to backbite and curse and all that. No, sin means rebellion against the government. So when Adam and Eve sinned, the governor left. The governor is the Holy Spirit. The governor is the reconnect back to the Father. So that's what man lost when Adam and Eve rebelled against God. So when Jesus came back, he brought back, because man can never miss what you never had. If you've never tasted sugar, how would you know what it tastes like if you never had it?
Right.
That's why in every human, the human soul is searching for what it missed and what it lost. And it lost the kingdom. That's why Jesus says, man, if your inheritance is the kingdom, your inheritance is the Holy Spirit. When he came back, he says the government is on his shoulders, the kingdom is on his shoulders, and it is my Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So when Jesus came back, he brought the kingdom. He brought the whole government of God back to humanity. So he gave everybody on earth, and I don't care what you believe, whether you're Hindu, Buddhism, Hindu or Muslim, Confucius, Scientologist, atheist, whatever you believe, you don't believe, he came back and gave every human on earth the opportunity to have the kingdom, to have the Holy Spirit, to get the governor, because that's what man lost.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came back to his disciples in Matthew, and after he came back from the resurrection,
Yes.
he went to each one of them and he breathed on them and said, receive. Receive what? The Holy Spirit. He didn't say receive a religion. Jesus never brought a religion. Most people think the Bible is a religious book.
Right.
The Bible has nothing to do with religion.
Yes.
The Bible is about a king, it's about a kingdom, and it's about a royal family. That's it.
Yeah.
It is your constitution. It is your book to everlasting life. It tells you how to live life to the fullest. And if you get the kingdom and you understand the kingdom, because I did this video this morning, there's three things: knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Knowledge is information. The more information you have, the more power you have, the more power you possess. He said, I came so you can have knowledge and power. He says, if you reject that, then I must reject you, because I'm trying to give you what you lost. I'm trying to give you what you've been missing. And if you don't want it, I won't use you.
Yeah.
Understanding is once you get something, it becomes yours, because nothing is yours until you understand. When you understand, like, bam, I got it. How many TVs, cameras, this and other that people possess, they use them, they know they have them, but they don't know how they work. So once you understand how things work, understanding is the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing that the devil don't want you to get, is to understand. Wisdom is application. Once you get the knowledge, you understand it, and then you apply it, and it becomes application. That's when you can actually live the best life. He was speaking to the people in parables. He says, why do you speak to people in parables? He says, because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom has been given to you, but not to them. No, that's the wrong one. Let me go back to this. He says, when anyone hears the message, this is about the sower, about the kingdom, and does not understand it, what little bit that he understands, Satan himself comes to snatch away what little bit he begins to understand. Because the devil don't care if you go to church. He don't care if you learn about the blood, the resurrection, or this, that, and he don't care about any of that stuff. What he don't want you to get, he doesn't want you to understand the message. Why? It's because if you ever understand your authority, your power, what he brought back for you to have, he can no longer control your life. So that's why there's two kingdoms on this planet: the kingdom of light, which is the kingdom of God, which is information, which is knowledge, which is power, or the kingdom of darkness. And I've learned this here too, man, is that you either hot or you cold. There's no lukewarm. He says, if you lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. That means you're either living in the kingdom of light or you're living in the kingdom of darkness. There's no in between. This is a real good one here too. There's two masters on this planet that everybody's motivated by. You're either motivated by the kingdom, which is God, or you motivated by money.
Yes.
People, that's all they do is talk about money. How much money they get? How can they buy this thing and buy all this stuff and everything else? And Jesus disagrees with all that stuff, man. He says, if you put my kingdom first and you remain righteous. Righteous doesn't mean to wear a cross or robe and that kind of stuff. Righteous means to be a properly aligned, means keep all my laws and my commands. He says, I will add everything you need to your life, which means if he adds it to you, you don't have to work for it.
That's exactly like you're saying right now, applies earlier to, a job. You know what I mean? Whenever me and Pastor Justin was talking, one thing he was saying, because it's like, look, I work out, I do all these things,
Yeah.
but those are for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those have nothing to do with God. So just because you're doing all these good things, you know what I mean? You're not giving the glory to God. You know, He's not. It's still for yourself. It's still selfish. Whenever you break it down, everything that I do on a daily basis, whether going to work or whatever, that's still for me. You know what I mean? I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it. I got to pay my bills, or you know, it's all about me. And I never really thought about that. You know, because I think a lot of people, especially, you know, they go into this thing where, you know, as long as they're doing good stuff and they're buying people's groceries or whatever it is, like you know, I'm a great person, and but it's still all about you. You know what I mean? You're still doing these things all about you. Like I do stuff, like I told you, Mario's driving my truck. You know, like I get that urge. I've bought people stuff because I get that urge, and that's probably God in me working in my heart.
Yeah.
You know, because I genuinely care about human beings. I care. You know what I mean? You know, but I can also be very cut and dry too, because you know, like the people that sit around and they're constantly complaining and all this other stuff, but they're not putting in no action. I don't have no care for that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that I'm working on. You know, because I gotta realize, look, I don't have all my stuff in line. You know what I mean?
But it takes time, though.
But yeah, absolutely. It's probably that immediate gratification thing, especially with the flesh. I mean, as a human being, you know what I mean? We want what we want to control. I still, you know what I mean? I've been every morning I pray to God. That's one of the biggest things that I pray is like, look, whenever before I got baptized, I was talking to myself. I was crying. You know, I get emotional in the church. And whenever I'm listening to stuff now, you know what I mean? I just start crying, and it drives me crazy because because I'm in the church, and then my self-esteem issues start hitting me because they're like, man, people's watching you. You know what I mean? And I'm just, I'm bawling for no reason, and I'm trying not to, and then I'm battling with myself like, look, stop. You know what I mean? You need to tighten up. You need to tighten up. But before I went to get baptized, that was what I was saying to myself was like, look, let all this go, man.
Absolutely.
Let it all go, because like you said earlier, you know, like we were talking about earlier, and like you said earlier, one thing that I know, it doesn't matter the amount of money that I have.
All this stuff's temporary. That
there's a never-ending hole and emptiness, you know what I mean? And that's what gravitated me to where I am with this God and with Bible and everything, was because like I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I do a lot of stuff. I spend a lot of money on being healthy, just like you did. I got red lights. You know, we talk all the time. You know what I mean? I met you through some weights. You know, I mean, but I cannot fill that void. And all I can say is that since I've been doing what I've been doing, I'm feeling better. I feel it. You know what I mean? And I feel that presence. And I know people look at us like, man, these guys are crazy, man. Like, you know, because it's the same. Whenever I'm on my knees and I'm praying to God, like I'm trying to see something. You know what I mean? Like show, you know, that's, you know, you're on your knees and you're trying to picture God. You want to hear Him talking to you, and I don't hear nothing. You know what I mean? And so you know, you know, it just but the letting go is the hardest part. I think, especially for all human beings, because like you said, we want to control. One thing that I remember from even 12-step meetings, you know, in AA book, which they created the 12 steps out of the Bible. You know what I mean? Out of Corinthians and a couple chapters out of the Bible. That's where the 12 steps came from. You know what I mean? But they didn't they didn't want to get religion involved in it because they knew they would find separation. But majority of people that get into 12 steps, they end up getting into Christ, you know what I mean? But there's a chapter in there, and it talks about how we basically, and they use it as, you know, alcoholics or drug addicts, but I just apply it to human life because we are puppet masters. We try to control everything that goes on in our life, you know what I mean? And that struggle with trying to control is where the stress and the anxiety and all that stuff comes in. Because, you know, I haven't got to the point yet, but I just want to let go. You know what I mean? I want God to take over is what I want. Hey, I'm to the point now, like, I'm like, hey, look, and I'm just fresh into this, but I want to let go, man. I'm tired of battling. You know what I mean? I'm battling, trying to, you know, still trying to control, and I'm just trying to let go, man. You know what I mean? And it's it's just a powerful thing, because I would have never, a year ago, even 6 months ago or whatever, I would have never thought I would be like I am right now. You know what I mean?
That's why we have this conversation.
Because like earlier you was talking about church, the thing about church to me was like, I thought whenever I go to church, I'm like, man, I got to quit everything. Church is weak. I think about church people, and I always thought like they're like weak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I tell you what, it's one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I haven't gotten in no confrontations with anybody that has been trying to be like, oh, what about your God, or what about this, what all, but I'm sure that'll come because the devil is always at you. I know that whenever I get on my knees and I go to pray, I got a gazillion things that come into my head whenever I'm trying to focus. So I'm praying for focusness. I know that sometimes whenever I read my Bible, I start yawning. I just start getting tired. He's trying to grab me and deter me from reading this word. You know what I mean? And that's the way I'm looking at it because I don't know why all of a sudden I just got tired. I didn't feel tired, but as soon as I started reading the Bible, I'm like, ooh, man, I go to sleep. You know what I mean?
Bed, I used to do the same thing. I'm reading like this, and I'm like, man, get to sleep. So now I make sure I read an hour or something before I go to bed, so I'm not sleepy. So he can't lullaby me to sleep, man. Because thing too is, man, a lot of people on this earth are pearl dealers. When he talked about the parable about the pearl dealers, they collect all these pearls till they find the pearl that's got the one value. They collect Buddhism, Hinduism, Shintoism, even Christianity. Buddhism, Baha'i faith, all these things are religion, and religion means to search. Jesus never brought a religion. He brought a kingdom. And that's what I want everybody to know. The Bible has nothing to do with religion, and Jesus never brought it.
Right.
He brought a government. He brought a whole kingdom for his kids to bring his nature down here on earth. So the pearl dealer, just like the guy who found treasure, he collected all these pearls till he found that one pearl of the highest value. Because one thing I learned, that everything that everybody's looking for, everything that you want, everything that you need is in the kingdom, and it's available to you without stress, without worry, without pressure. It's just up to you how you get it out. Because the only way the kingdom works is by belief, by your faith, be it unto you. He tells that to everybody. Everybody heals. He says, by your faith, be it unto you. He says, I tell you the truth. It ain't up to me. It ain't up to God. It's up to you. Everything that you put out in the atmosphere will come back to you. Everything that you believe comes back to you. I always tell people this: whatever you keep seeing, you become. Whatever you keep hearing, you become. Whatever you believe, you become. So whatever that you want to become, do, be, or have, that's where you spend your time. That's where you spend your currency. So when that pearl dealer, he found the ultimate pearl, which is the kingdom, the part of his life that was missing, that he was searching for his entire life. He didn't know. He sold all that other religion. He sold all those cars, those houses, those BMWs, this and that. Because I had a Camaro.
Yeah,
that was.
Well, I remember what was the one
I had
that
a Grand National.
Yeah, that Grand National. That thing was tough looking too.
But my Camaro, I had that car for almost 18 years. I had it for 8 years. Couldn't afford it no more. I was racing on a credit card. Sold it to a guy. Bought it back. I spent crazy amount of money. That car was everything to me. I'm talking everything. Yeah. I spent more time in that car than anything. I want to go racing. I was learning how to do this, that, and the other. And then one day I crashed it. And when I crashed it, I turned around and I looked at it. I was like, man, that was my everything.
Yeah.
And voice, and I was like, that ain't it. That ain't even close. And my wife came down and looked at me, and I tell you how God works. He didn't allow me to destroy it fully. It cost me about $17,000 just to get the front end fixed and so on and so forth. Whereas other guys had $200,000+ cars that was totaled.
Yeah.
So I got the car, got it fixed, made a couple more runs, ran the sevens, and I ended up selling that Camaro for the kingdom. I sold to a good friend of mine. I sold to him cheap. And then I got the Buick, sold that stuff, man. I like that stuff. Absolutely, I love it. But once you get the kingdom, you don't want nothing else. Yeah. Nothing else matters. The biggest thing that most people don't understand, that our government down taught here, to be successful, you got to have money, you got to have the car, you have to have fame, you have to have all this. Everybody has to love you in order for you to be respected on this planet. But all this stuff that we see with our two eyes are temporary. People make decisions based upon what they see. In the kingdom, you live and you make your decisions based upon faith. You make your decision based upon principle. And if you make a decision based upon faith, then you'll see it. That's why people, when they look at their bank accounts, this, that, and the other, oh, I can see this, I can see that, I can see, okay, this is how I'm gonna make my decision. I says, no. I says, why do you worry about what you eat, what you drink, what you wear, how you live? Isn't life more important than these things? Yeah. Life, the rich young ruler had everything that everybody on this planet wants to achieve. He was rich, which means he was Bill Gates or Elon Musk, whoever you want to call him. He was and he had positions of power. He had everything that everybody on this earth is looking for, but yet he was still empty. And what did he do? He went to the king. He says, how can I get more life? He says, I thought you had more life. You know, Jesus, he talked to me, told him a little bit of commands. He says, I do all, I keep the law. He said, so you telling me you're a citizen of my country, you keep the law, and I own you, because the word Lord means owner. He says, yeah, I do that. He says, okay, let me test your ownership. Because if I'm your Lord, you say I'm your Lord, and the Lord means he owns everything. And I always tell this an analogy to everybody. If your father owns everything, what do you worry about? Right. Absolutely nothing. So, Jesus had him, right? So, he says, okay, since you say you're my citizen, go, take everything that you have, sell it, give it to the poor, and come follow me, and you'll have life forever. When the young man heard that, he walked away. Mm-hmm. Why did he walk away? Because the things that he saw with his own two eyes that was actually killing him, because most people are wealthy, they are worried about how they're going to get it, keep it, how they're going to get more, and if somebody's going to take it from them. Jesus says, no, in my kingdom, you don't own nothing. In my kingdom, your wealth is access. I own everything. So if you are being right, I'll give you everything that you need, and you ain't got to work for it. You ain't got to sweat, because guess what? If they come and try to steal something from you, they got to deal with him, because he owns it. But if you own it, then you got to go and try to deal with them. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to make you tired and worry and stress and everything else. Mm-hmm. So the rich young ruler walked away from life. I'm trying to give you more life and trying to give you the best life. So he basically stuck with wealth that was killing him, and the guy walked away. But with my Camaro, I saw it, man. He showed me. I gave up my Camaro. I gave up all that stuff. And then when I got the kingdom, man, he set me free. Pressure-free, stress-free, debt-free, worry-free, don't owe nobody nothing. Man, I retired. I didn't even plan on retiring last year, man.
Yeah, you're young, too, to retire.
And most people say, well, how you retire? Most people who have wealth say, what kind of nest egg you got? I said, I ain't got one. Why? It's because I seen what he brought me from January, within 7 months, what he did by my belief, by what I said, and he paid it all off. Well, he said, why worry? Worrying is to doubt me. So all you have to do is just put me first, put my kingdom first, accept my kingdom, stay righteous, keep all my laws and my commands, and you'll have life forever. Because if you take a fish out of water, what happens?
It dies.
If you take a plant out of soil, what happens?
It dies.
If you take a seed, in order for something to live, it has to be in the environment that it was created. So without water, a fish can't survive.
Right.
Without soil, a plant dies. So once Adam got disconnected from the owner, the king, he died. So Jesus came back, the rich young ruler, to bring more life, which is the kingdom, which is the Holy Spirit, which is the governor, so we can have more life. So once we get reconnected back to him, guess what we get? We get more life. We have life more abundantly. He takes away all the pressure, the stress, worries, and this and the other. But there's so many people who are in the church and people who are in the kingdom that don't know the laws and the commands, and they still have issues because religion teaches you to endure poverty. Religion teaches you that it is the Lord's will for you to be living like this and this, that, and the other, and to be in debt and to be broken and to be sick and so on and so forth. No, Jesus says, in my kingdom, we don't do any of that stuff. We don't have any of that stuff. Because if you do what I tell you to do, you keep my laws and my commands, all that stuff doesn't happen. People like to see miracles. Miracles in the kingdom are natural. And why are miracles natural down or unnatural down here? It's because a human can't explain it. And that's the difference. If you keep the kingdom and you keep my laws and my commands, he says, I'm going to take care of you. You ain't got to worry about nothing. And his whole goal and purpose for man was to bring the culture of heaven down here on earth. He wants to do it through his kid. He wants to do it through you. He wants to do it through me. So it's up to us to what we want to know and how we want to get that information. And then once we get that information, then we share with others, and then we make our Father proud. Yeah, that's bottom line. That's the whole purpose of the Bible, is to bring the culture of heaven down here on earth, because our Father, he's a king. Yeah. And if he's a king and he owns everything, what's that make you?
Right. Yeah.
He is the King of kings. That's why we naturally like to rule, but we are not to rule one another. We're supposed to dominate the planet, the fish, the birds, the creeps, everything. But we all have power in us. The power to walk on water, the power to raise the dead, the power to heal the sick, the power to pay off this and pay all that. But it's all up to us. Jesus said it's up to you.
What was he told one of the apostles, he was like, you could, with a seed of mustard, you could move a mountain. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. He says that's all you need is faith of a mustard seed. Yeah. And the mustard seed is the smallest seed, but guess what? when the mustard seed grows up, it is the largest of all of them. It's so tall, the birds get on there and branch, and you know what I'm saying? They can have shelter and everything else. You just need just a little bit to release a whole. But it's up to us, man. That's why I keep telling people, man, whatever you believe, man, whatever you say will come back to you. I don't care what, if you're thinking negative, don't ever say what you want to happen, believe it, and you'll see it.
And that there's, regardless if people don't believe in the Bible or in Jesus and God, those are facts. Like, there's a lot of very wealthy people that say the same exact thing. There's a book called The Secret. The book called The Secret is the same thing. Look, what you put out and what you invest yourself into, you know what I mean? If you listen to a lot of people that are wealthy entrepreneurs, you know what I mean? They was trying to live the lifestyle before they was even in the lifestyle. Like, I can't think of the one guy's name, but he was saying every single, at least once a month, him and his wife would go stay at this fancy hotel because his thought was every day for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get so wealthy. So, I mean, it's exactly what you're saying. You know, what you put out is what you get back, but also what you invest your currency in, like you said. I mean, you know, like I know that, like, you know, there for a good while, I stopped listening to music whenever I work out. And I'll just put on motivational stuff, you know. Now I've been listening to, you know, a pastor that I've been watching on 2819. So I just listen to him preach and stuff while I'm out there in the gym. But because I'm trying to learn more about the Bible, because you know, you're talking about religion, and that's another thing. What I like about Pastor Justin and the pastor that I watch at 2819, they said the same thing. Look, this is not about any type of religion.
Right.
This is about this word right here that God gave us, the way of living. It has nothing to do with religion and man-made created laws and regulations and, you know, all these different things of being a part of the church. You need to do this, you need to do that. You know, this is just stuff that human beings have created, essentially polluted what was supposed to come, what we're supposed to do. Just follow the stories from the Bible. Yeah, I mean, and it's, you know, so I've been trying to do that because I'm invested in this, and that's the lifestyle that I'm wanting to live, because like I said, I want to let go. I want to get to that point, you know what I mean? So I know that one thing I do know in life about anything is consistency and just going and not giving up. It's going to come. You know what I mean? It's when you stop and you give up. You know, it's the worst thing that you can do. This is with all aspects of life. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't grasp this. You know what I mean? It's just, you get comfortable. You know, people it's very easy to get comfortable. You know, and so, you know, that's another reason, you know, with me going to church. These are things like, even with the business networking group that I'm a part of, I got to implement. I've implemented these things into my life because I'll get in a comfort zone, you know what I mean? And like with like church, you know, it's uncomfortable to me because I don't necessarily go out of my way to try to make friends and people hugging me and telling me they love me. And it's like, you know, it feels, I didn't come up like that. You know what I mean? Like, you'll get there. You know, my dad would hug us, and, you know, we loved each other, and, you know, but we never sat down. And I want to let that go, because, you know, it's just, that hard heart, all that self-esteem stuff and everything else, it ain't doing me no good, and it's a lot easier whenever I just try to just let go. You know what I mean? That's right. You know, like you're saying. I mean, you know, it's the same thing that Pastor Justin was saying. You know, he's like, look, God says, you know, He'll give you whatever you need. You don't have to worry about nothing. No. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing you got to worry about. It's just so easy for you know, your mind frame to, man, I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta do this.
You can never be a member of a country. You can only be a citizen. So when you get into the kingdom, you become a citizen. Churches, key clubs have members, and a member has no rights. A citizen has rights. A citizen can demand. That's the reason why when you get in the kingdom, that's when you have authority, you have power, but a member don't have any of those things. And real quick, too, when they're going back to the power of belief, is that every human, most people can actually get this analogy here if they ever heard of the placebo effect. And most people I talk to and tell about the placebo effect. Oh yeah, I know that. You have a drug that's fake and you have a drug that's real. And the person's mind makes the fake drug real.
Yeah.
The same way with the kingdom. Your faith is up to you. It ain't up to nobody else. Nobody else can affect you unless you allow it.
Yeah.
But going back to citizenship, and the church is a good place to go. The church, Jesus says, I will build, when he was talking to Peter, he says, I'm going to build my church on the fact that I am the Christ, the Holy One of God. The church is not a building. There's so many people that I know, I'm not trying to talk about churches. Christianity, if you look up all the religions on there, Christianity is a religion.
Right.
The Bible talks about Christianity, it says 3 times in the Bible, and 2 of them are derogatory. So we were never designed to be called Christians. God calls us sons. He calls us ambassadors. He calls us citizens. And what is an ambassador? An ambassador is a person that represents the country. That's what an ambassador. Ambassador is paid for by government. The government what? The government God. God's paid all his bills. He's paid for everything, all the stuff that he wants. If you become a citizen of the kingdom and you line yourself up, he takes care of everything that you need. But if you're a member, that means you got to beg. You got to beg in these religions, man. Yeah. That's why people say, oh, you in the Christian? Nah. I mean, I know Christianity is a religion, and I'm not trying to harp on it, but I'm a citizen.
Yes.
And a citizen has rights. A citizen has power. A citizen can demand, but a member can't. So there's just a lot of little things, man. I got so much information, man. I don't know if this podcast is going to be able to hold it all.
Well, hey.
I'm telling you, man.
I want to.
It's the mindset, though. Jesus' first words when he came out of the wilderness in his ministry was repent. And what does repent mean? Repent means to change your mind, change the way you talk. Because our government taught us that we have to work for a living. Our government told us if somebody hits you, you hit them back. We've been taught on this planet to hate your enemies, get them back. Our government taught us totally opposite of what he wants us how to live, the way his government functions. When he says repent, for the kingdom of heaven has returned to earth, which means you have to go back and get the original mind that Adam had before he sinned so you can live effectively in my kingdom, so you can know what I want and how to take what I'm telling you through the governor, through the Holy Spirit, to make earth just like heaven. He says repent, change your mind, change the way we've been taught to do things to other people and this, that, and the other, how to get money, how to live. Everything's for me. Everything's for me and my family. The kingdom don't do any of those things. The kingdom don't function like that.
I think that's powerful too. Just bringing it to this aspect too. When you look at the world operates,
it's opposite of the kingdom.
It's opposite. Exactly. It's opposite. Everything is opposite. And then on top of that, this is what really started grabbing me here recently. Was getting into like the way people that believe in Jesus Christ. The persecution, when you look at the way the deaths of all the apostles, they're brutal. You know what I mean? Yeah. They found these people and they brutally murdered these people. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And like William Tidwell that created the King James Bible, I just found this out recently. You know, he converted it over to English. You know what I mean? Before it was in English. And when he started releasing that book, and I don't know the whole story, I was listening to the pastor talk about it, but the Pharisees had somebody befriend this guy in the 1700s, I believe, is whenever they killed him. Go back to his house because he was very secretive. You know, the Bible wasn't a big thing in English yet. You know what I mean? And when he started releasing these copies, people started, being able to read the Bible, and it became huge. You know what I mean? It started to grow. Well, the Pharisees didn't like that, and they had somebody befriend this guy, follow him back to his house, and be around him. And ultimately, whenever they brought him out, they put him on they choked him almost to death. And then what they did was they put him on a stake, and they set him on fire. Yep. And when you look at the way that followers of Christ have been persecuted. There ain't no other religion that's been persecuted like the way that this is. So there has to be something to this, because everything that you look at is the opposite of what the Bible says. Every aspect of what's going on in this world, and this is another reason why I think God grabbed me, because I truly, looking around, especially with the whole Gaza thing and bringing peace to the Middle East, the Bible talks about there'll be peace in the Middle East, and that's what they're working on right now. You know, I would think it's 7 years, and then the Antichrist comes and all this other stuff. Not saying that he ain't already here, because I mean we got a lot of stuff going on. You know what I mean? But then also another thing that I didn't even know was, and I don't know the scripture that well, so I don't know what scripture it is, but the Israelites got dispersed into a bunch of different areas. You know, the Jewish people, because that's what they were Israelites. They're the Jews. That those were God's people. And in 1948, because God promised them that He would bring them to their homeland and they would have a area of their own. 1948, 700 years after He put this in the Bible. I was just listening to the pastor talk about it. Like I said, I don't know exactly what verse it was, but 700 years later, all the Jewish people settled in a town or an area called Israel. That's what Israel is now. You know what I mean? In 1948, all Jewish people came, and and ever since then, I mean, they're getting bombed. Hey, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and this is biblical stuff. This is not stuff that is just made up. This is actually in this book. You know what I mean? It's just so crazy to me. Like. They tried to boil John in oil, and he lived.
Right.
You know what I mean?
When you talk about too, how the disciples, stuff like that, were getting killed. Who was the biggest persecutor of the church and the head of the Pharisees?
Well, I mean, you had the Romans. I mean,
I'm talking about one specific person.
I don't know.
His name was Saul. That was converted to Paul. So
and I didn't know that.
Yes,
really.
His name was Saul.
Okay.
Before he got converted to Paul. So he was persecuting the church. He was the chief. He graduated summa cum laude. He was the chief. He graduated with top honors in the school of Gamaliel. So he was well educated in the law, and he was persecuting the disciples. He was persecuting the Christians. He was going to the leaders, getting letters so he can go drag them off and kill them and put them in jail and this, that, and the other. Till one day noon, the owner came back, knocked him off his horse. When he knocked him off his horse, he said, Saul, I called you to do your work. And since that day forward, once he met the king and the kingdom, it changed his life.
He became Paul, right?
He became Paul.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He became one of the greatest disciples out there because how many books did Peter write? And Peter was with Jesus. He only wrote 2 books.
Okay.
Paul wrote 14 books.
Really?
Paul was well educated. Paul knew all the scriptures. He knew all those things. That's why I say information is power. Knowledge is power. Peter just knew fish. Peter, James, and John were fishermen. They had a fishing company. So when Jesus met them, he took me, I'm going to teach you what I want you to know. But Peter still had his fishing mentality because that's what he came from. He didn't know anything about, the law. He knew a little bit. He knew about the Messiah, but he didn't know it as well as Paul. That's the reason why the more information you have, the more he'll use you, because the word reject means not to use.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why he used Paul more than he used Peter and the others, because Paul understood. Paul had a depth of revelation because he wanted to know when he talked to him and he knocked him off his horse and he sent him the Holy Spirit. He says, now you're already educated, so now let me bring it out of you. Let me give you what I want you to give my people so they can understand everything that I'm trying to tell them in layman's terms, in simple terms. So that's how Saul became Paul, and he was the head of the leader. He was the chief synagogue. He was persecuting the church, man. And Jesus said, too, with all the wars and stuff going on, and the war in Iraq and all this kind of stuff, and people said the end times here and this and the other. You know when the end will come? And most pastors don't even know, and most preachers don't know. And Jesus, they asked him this question.
Nobody would know a time or a date, he says, in the Bible.
Right, but when, though?
Yeah.
Jesus told them specifically when the end will come. And what he says, he told Peter and them, he says, when this gospel, he was very specific, of the kingdom being preached throughout the whole world as a testimony, then the end will come. When the whole world gets my message from here all the way over the whole world, that's when I'll come back. But most people don't even know that. Most pastors don't know that. Most people, because there's war going on, and this going on, and these are the end times. No.
Yeah.
Our job to get Jesus back here to spread the message about his kingdom.
Yes. It's crazy because you got people that's what I'm saying. This is evident. I mean, it's actual evidence. When you think about this, there's people in the jungle that are bringing Bibles to people in the jungle.
Yeah.
Like you can't make these things up. You know what I mean? Like for him to say that and then to think that, look, there's tribes in the jungle that have essentially probably never even seen anybody, other
Right.
than, them. And there's actual people that are going into these areas,
Giving them-
trying to give them
them
the
the
word
information.
that it's verification. Like, not to mention, I think we would have to Google it, but I think the Bible is the most read book
Absolutely.
in the world, and I think Matthew is the most read chapter.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
You know what I
Those are-
mean?
Those are Jesus' life. How long you been going to church?
I mean, like
Well,
I said,
since
I mean,
recently.
I probably only a couple months now.
Okay,
You
let
know
me
what
ask
I
you this
mean?
question.
Going to actual church. You know what I mean?
And you've been in a few churches. How many times in those churches you heard the pastor preach about the kingdom?
Take it, I don't know if they necessarily say the kingdom, but I'm just saying,
Jesus said back then, man, to the Pharisees, the scribes, all these guys, man, the reason why a lot of pastors and preachers and teachers don't teach the kingdom is because they don't know the kingdom. They don't know. When they preach what makes people happy. They preach emotional sermons.
Yes.
They preach what they want to get people to come in the congregation and say, okay, yeah, that was a good sermon. But they leave and have no power.
yeah.
How many people, I know, man, so many people that go to church 20, 30, 40, 50 years and haven't changed. This, that, and the other, still doing the same old. There's no evidence of change. When you go to a court of law, what is the judge looking for?
Change.
He's looking for evidence. He ain't looking for
Yes.
words, man, because you can come to a court of law and be lying all day long.
Yeah.
He said, no, I want proof. I want you to show me. I need evidence. That's why everything I'm telling you and everything I tell everybody else, I can prove it. I got proof.
Yes.
Because if it ain't working for me, I shouldn't say it to you.
Right.
So the reason why a lot of these pastors and preachers ain't preaching the kingdom because they don't know.
Yeah.
For one,
Yeah.
they haven't been taught. There has been any schools on what is a kingdom, what's the components of the kingdom function. We were born in a republic, and that means a government down here, which means I got to take care of myself,
Right.
which is totally opposite of what God and Jesus brought to this earth and what he wants us to know. That's why it's so imperative and so important that we get the message, that we share the message, we understand the message, that they understand the message, because if you get it, it will change your life. You will get life forever. You won't have no worries, no pressure, no stress, none of those kind of things once you get it, but you have to understand it. Then once you understand it, then you have to apply it. Because there's so many keys that are in the Bible that you have to find them and discover them for yourself.
Yeah.
I've been learning those bad boys. People preach what makes people happy because they want people to like them.
Yeah.
When I make my decisions based upon principle, not by feelings, because feelings are up and down. They're just like the weather. You make your decisions based upon what is right. And right is righteousness. I'm not trying to get somebody to come like, I'm just doing what Jesus told me to do. I'm just sharing what he told me to his message, what he told me to share. As long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm good. That's why I don't worry about nothing. That's why I was able to retire last year. I ain't worried about nothing, man. I'm going to love everybody. And for me, it ain't about me. And I always try to tell people, it's not about me. It's about me getting his message to them. It's about them meeting him through me.
Yeah.
When I meet you, you're supposed to be meeting God.
Yeah.
You're supposed to feel his love, man, because God is love. That's the only way faith works, is by love. If you don't love, then your faith shuts down. And guess what? You sick, you tired, you poor, you depressed, you all those things, man. Church people, man, and sometimes they go to church and this, that, and the other, and they have bitterness to the people next to them. They're going out and doing this all kind of stuff, man. You got to have love in your heart. I don't care what somebody say, how somebody mistreats you or this, that, and the other. You better love them no matter what.
Yeah.
That's principle, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
It ain't like, you never let your feelings dictate what you do, ever.
Man, that's
Ever.
I say that all the time, and people tend to try to attack you and say it's selfish.
If
You
they
know what I
attack
mean?
you just continue to love them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of the reason why people are sitting around in the places, depressed, anxiety, all that stuff is because
They don't know.
emotions.
Yeah,
Emotions.
And also to a lack of knowledge, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely got to bring that into there, because, absolutely. If you don't know what you don't know, you know what I mean? And, so,
That's why-
because like, I say this all the time, and like, look, because I see people on my Facebook, or I know people personally, and they make decisions, and then they're making it out of emotions.
Out of emotion.
And emotions will take you a gazillion different ways
Places you
that,
don't
hey,
wanna
other
go.
than the way that you need to go.
Right,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? And as soon as I say that, it'll be, well, it's easy for you, or it automatically becomes a defense mechanism. But I'm not trying to harm anybody. Like I said, I think in these areas, whenever I look at this is God trying to work through me to try to explain to these people, because I'm just like you. I think that God has come to me because he obviously
He's gonna use
we all that are following Jesus Christ, we have an obligation. The obligation is to bring other people, let God work through you and bring other people to the kingdom. You know what I mean?
You know why he chose you?
We're tools, we're vessels. You know what I mean? And I truly, honestly believe that God, that's why he grabbed me up. But he, is that, look, because I love engaging in conversation. I'm crossing paths with so many people working, and I'm passionate about all this stuff. So for me, I want to see people grasp this concept. You know what I mean?
Why he chose you? Because there's something that's inside of you. He has a part that's inside of you that he reconnected because of where you came from. And I used to think about this too, man. It's like, why did you start using me when I was 50? Why did stuff have to change even my body been career when I'm 50?
Yeah.
Because if it did it when you was 20, guess what? They would say, oh, that was natural.
Yeah.
So where I came from and where you came from, that's what he just told me, where you came from is going to show the people that you are talking and sharing the information with them, they'll believe it. Because if it came from a person like that, man, he can do it for me.
Man, I truly believe exactly what you're saying. You know what I mean? And it gives me confirmation because I've been in prison and all that stuff and everything else. You know what I mean?
Same way with Saul.
Exactly.
He was killing folks and he became the greatest apostle. That's you.
Well,
right now, brother.
I just had the same conversation because, I just went, Friday, I went to court. To petition to get my gun rights. I never had gun rights. It's not even so much the aspect of owning a gun. You know what I mean? I would enjoy to be able to have that right. Yeah. But it creates my testimony even more powerful, especially to people that have been through what I've been through. You know what I mean? Now I can assure these people, look, there's things going on in my life that are unexplainable to me. I can't explain it. Like I told you earlier, like it's not me, because I know me. I'll go to work. I'll make money. I'll buy a bunch of stuff and I'll come here and, I'll include myself. Yeah. I'll watch certain stuff. I got my routine, but now like these things are transpiring and I can feel a presence inside my body. You know what I mean? And I can feel the energy and the power of it. And like I told you, it's uncomfortable because I've never felt this like this, but at the same time, I know that there's things transpiring that make me feel good, and my days are getting better, and I'm crossing, like things are happening. You know what I mean? Like I'm crossing paths with people. I'm having these conversations about the Bible. I'm having these conversations about Jesus Christ.
You finding out who
it's
you
just crazy.
are.
It's just crazy, man. This is another reason why I started this podcast, because one thing that I also know, even before this whole God thing, is that, in my opinion, we have an obligation as human beings, as people trying to help other people, to get your story out there, to tell people, where did Josh Kimbrell come from? How did you get to where you are? What happened? What transpired? Because like you said, knowledge is power. There's people that need that knowledge. They need to hear that from you, because there's a whole bunch of people that don't have no idea. You know what I mean? And that's that's probably one of my biggest things that is hard for me to comprehend, because like I said earlier, I've had individuals tell me, man, it's easy for you because you this and that. And I don't never think about the fact that maybe these people are just misinformed, that maybe these people, the reason that they think out of their emotions is because they don't have enough of the knowledge, whereas as I've already went through that portion and got that knowledge, I've gotten the pieces, like you were saying, like I said this to a homeowner the other day. It's like, before I started working for myself, the first job I went to, I was so nervous when I knocked on the door, because
you'd never done it before.
Because my background, all this stuff, I got tattoos on my throat. I'm just thinking all this stuff running through my head. You know what I mean? And but what I've grasped from this is grown me so much bigger, because I've had conversations with people that I would have never essentially even been around, for one. But for two, they don't even know that they're changing my life through that conversation. I'm taking that knowledge, little pieces, and it's just gradually building up and building up. And another thing that kind of led me to this whole spiritual thing was in the past year, like I would get into conversations with homeowners, and I could think of multiple occasions where the conversation, by the end of the conversation, it diverted to Jesus Christ and the Bible. And I can't explain it because we might have started with politics or something, and then it just gradually went into the whole Bible. And I was more hearted to where I'm like, you know, like, I don't believe anybody's agnostic. Like, people can say they're agnostic, but the human beings, you always have in your head, where did we come from? There's got to be something, because we're so smart, but we're so dumb. We have the smartest people in the world, but the dumbest people, you know, like, we don't know nothing. Why don't you use your whole brain? You know, like, we don't know these things. Why is your heart beat? You know, I mean, just think about this. Why did this person die and you didn't die? I mean, you know, but it's just, man, it's just unexplainable, man. And, you know, like you said, the knowledge, you know, to where, like, you're 50, you know what I mean? You just grasped this, you say about 5 years ago, give or take, you know what I mean? So, like I was telling you earlier, I almost don't feel like I was searching for God. I feel like he grabbed me. You know what I mean? He just grabbed me.
It's a good thing you got it before you passed away.
That's how I feel. Yeah,
no
yeah,
doubt.
absolutely. Because that's what I was saying. It's like, it's weird to me because I wasn't even searching for this. I've been more agnostic than anything because I was more into, you know, science and thinking about, like, listening to science talk about all these other aspects. You know, there was a great flood and all this stuff. We know these are facts, and these are also in the Bible.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? There's more stuff that can't prove the Bible wrong, but proves it more.
Right,
you know, to where, you know, I started, like, looking into this stuff, but either way, I've always thought that there was something bigger. You know, obviously, where did we come from? You know, they talk about the asteroid hit and, you know, or, you know, just all this different stuff. You know, so that was the devil wrapping me up in, you know, because at one point in time, like I told you, I was in the book, you know what I mean? And I was more into it, but I also thought I genuinely asked Jesus Christ into my life at that point in time. But whenever I actually felt it, whenever I did, I felt it. Yeah. I don't remember feeling like I did whenever I did. You know, it's just been going faster and faster, and like, I'm just trying to stay devouring in.
Spend your time with
exactly
what you want to
spending my time in that aspect. You know what I mean? And I tell you what, like, it's just crazy to me, man, because being an outsider looking at, you know, a person talking about, you know, oh man, you know, I'm talking to Jesus Christ. You know, like, you can't fathom that. You know, human beings can't fathom that. So a lot of people are skeptical. You know what I mean? Right. It's very easy to be like, yeah, you know, what about, you know, like.
Yeah, see, he gives us territories. So whatever it is you manage well, you get more of. So we all have our territories that we have to manage. And if we manage those territories well, guess what? We'll get more. If we mismanage those territories, we lose them. Same thing, everything that's in your life. If you manage your finances well, we'll give you more. If you mismanage your finances, guess what? You become poor. You manage your relationship well, your relationship will last. If you mismanage it, you'll lose. You'll lose your relationship. You mismanage your time with your kids, guess what? You lose that relationship with them. But if you manage it well, guess what? They're going to always be around. They're going to always love you,
one thing that I just said this yesterday because we were talking about just money in general, you know what I mean? What I've noticed is I used to count all my money all the time, you know what I mean?
Because that was your God.
One thing I've learned about money is whenever I stopped paying attention to it,
it'll come to you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whatever you chase will avoid you. And I guarantee if you chase money, it will always outrun you. Again, that's what set me free last year. When I stopped chasing money, that's when you just started dumping stuff on top of me like crazy. Like, last year was the worst year I've had in the car business by far.
Really?
By far.
Really?
I think I made like $40,000 a year.
Well, I guess with the economy and everything.
No, but the dealership was doing great.
Okay.
But it's God's way of showing them that his economy is not effective.
Okay.
He get his resources to me. Not by the way they think, because again, people like to use their eyes. That's how they make decisions. Well, they came to me the beginning of last year. Says, well, if you don't start selling more cars, you're gonna have to work more hours.
Really?
Me and another guy.
Really?
I says, no, I'm not.
And you've been doing that for this long, and they came to you like that?
They came to me. They set me and my guy down. I was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I said, I come here because I like coming here.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever own me. They should be happy. the reason why that place is prosperous is because I'm there.
Yes.
I didn't tell them
Yeah,
that, but
yeah,
this is what
yes,
I'm
yes,
saying
yes,
to myself. So I got a level of respect like no one other. I said, well, these guys here, you taking money from them, they have to come here because they have to pay for a car, a house. None of my stuff was paid for.
Right.
My house wasn't paid for then.
Yeah.
But they come here because they have to pay bills and this, that, and the other. You can own them. You'll never own me.
So they can't. The dealership came at you like that.
It is, man, because again, and I told them is that these people, they're working for a living. They got to pay bills. They got to pay this and pay for that. That's the reason why people work, because they have to pay for a house, they got to pay for a car, they got to pay for mortgage, got to pay for food, and all the other kind of stuff. But when he told me, he says, you don't have to do all that stuff. Don't work for those things. You work for my kingdom first. And when you work for a company, they own you.
Right.
You got to do what they say. Because if you don't do what they say, they take their money from you, and guess what? Then you can't pay for those things. Check this out. Remember when the rich king went to Abraham and he offered Abraham a lot of money?
No,
He
don't.
offered
but yes.
Abraham a lot of money so he, because his warriors and stuff like that fought for him, so he can say that he owned him. And Abraham says, no, I will not take any of your wealth. So when I become rich, you will say you made me rich. He turned down the king's wealth because people with money, they try to buy people because they give you something. Guess what? You owe them.
Mm-hmm.
They own you.
Mm-hmm.
So same way with jobs. When you work for a place, that place owns you. And then guess what? If you don't like that place and you quit, you try to go get another place, and then the next place owns you. But then once you become free, there's no other freedom like that ever. I don't work for a living. I don't work to pay bills. He said, be like the birds. They don't work. They don't spend. They don't collect. They don't do any of these things. But yet your Heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you much more valuable than they? Because birds don't try to do any of those things, man.
Yeah.
But we've been taught in this society by our government, by our parents, that you have to work for a living.
To deter you from the book. When you think about it, hey, to deter you from the book, everything is against it. It's like we were saying earlier. If you look at everything, it is completely opposite what the Bible says.
Yeah.
And this is a book that has been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Multiple people have documented this thing. It's crazy, man.
And once
it's
you
crazy.
learn those keys, those principles that's in there, because they're clearly in there,
Yes.
and you apply them, which is the wisdom part, that's when you become free.
What better way to keep you from seeing something or keep you from obtaining that knowledge than to keep you in the rat race of bills? There's a lot of people that are wrapped up into debt that, hey, they'll never get out of it because they're constantly getting a new vehicle, worried about getting a house.
It's because, remember when you were saying earlier about people doing things because they were emptiness? Religion and things doing good things keep you preoccupied so you don't have to think about your emptiness. That's why people constantly do things, and then when they stop doing things, wait a minute, I'm empty. And then guess what? They got to do some other things. They got to do this. They got to do that to keep them preoccupied so they don't have to think about the emptiness. But once you find that treasure, all that other stuff don't mean nothing, because guess what? He gives you all that other stuff and you don't have to even worry about it. You don't even have to work for it.
Yeah.
That's why he said they will be added, man.
Yeah.
So churches, a lot of other places that keep people busy with all these projects and programs and things to do, go on this fish trip, doing this and doing that and building this and building that, to keep people empty. And then guess what? When they die, guess what? They haven't done anything. They haven't fulfilled anything. What kind of legacy have they left?
Yeah.
What have they done for the kingdom? What have they done he says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children. I finally figured out what that means. Most people think to leave like land or money or this and the other. No, he says leave them the kingdom. That's what you leave them. You teach your children about the kingdom. You teach your children's children about the kingdom. And that's how his kingdom continues to grow. Because then what you say, how can somebody ever learn something or know somebody they've never been taught? Mm-hmm. And it's our job to teach our children, our children's children, and to manage the area that he gave us to manage. That's what rulership is. To govern, to rule, to manage, to have rulership over, to dominate, to govern, man.
Yeah.
So there's just so much, man, that we've been blind to by our democracy, because democracy is totally opposite from the kingdom.
Right.
Our president, our prime minister can never tell you they love you.
Right.
They don't care if you're poor. They don't care if you can't sleep. They don't care if you can't pay your bills. They don't care about any of those things. They only care about what you can do for them. They go to bed in their nice house. They eat steak and eggs, this, that, and the other. But we have a king that cares personally for each and every one of his citizens. When his citizens are poor, sick, and depressed, it personally embarrasses the king. If your father owns everything and you poor, how you represent him?
Yeah.
It's because of something you're not doing. There's some laws that you're not obeying. So it's our job to learn those laws, which is righteousness. Then you can demand anything that you need, because wealth in the kingdom is common. Wealth in the kingdom, which means you have access to everything the king has and the king owns. You have access to them. If you're a citizen, you can demand those by right. You don't beg in the kingdom. But again, you have to know your rights, which is in the Constitution. They are in there, and then you can go before the king, says, here, I demand healing. I demand this being paid. I demand this, that, and the other. And he's going to look and check, okay, you righteous? Here you go. Yeah. But if he's going to check everybody. So, I demand this. Well, wait a minute, but you over here sleeping with somebody you're supposed to be sleeping with. You go on doing this here. I told you to give this to so-and-so. You didn't give this to so-and-so. I told you to make sure you tell them you love them. You didn't do this. You don't qualify. You have to qualify in the kingdom. You have to qualify to demand. You have to qualify when you have right. You know, when you have rights, you demand, but you still have to qualify for those things. But if any parent, have your kids ever come to you and said, Dad, did you work today to get money to feed me?
No.
Never. No kid, because if you're doing what you're supposed to do, the kid expect the parent to have everything and supply everything that the kid needs. Yeah. And the kid don't worry, the kid don't stress, the kid don't try to figure nothing out.
Right.
So as long as we're doing the same thing, we have a father that has everything. He says, just keep my laws.
Great example, because you think back whenever you was a kid, if
you needed something, you went to your dad.
Yeah. And
your dad gave it to you as long as you were doing good. He was bringing home A's. He was, making him proud.
Yeah, that's great. That is a great example.
I got a lot more, man.
Look, I don't want to divert off and also get into some of your bodybuilding and, some stuff that you talked to me about. You got me into the red lights. I went off and bought the red lights. I know you got a lot more, but that I want to talk about that that EMF thing as well. You know what I mean? Let's touch on some of that stuff because, I especially with the cell phones and everything, when there's a lot of the EMF stuff that that I didn't even know about.
Right, the EMFs that is transmitted from the phones are basically harmful rays that kind of damage the skin, damage the nerves, and so on and so forth. They actually, if you go inside your phone and look in the settings and look under privacy down there, it tells you right there. So just in case you try to sue them, it's actually in your phone right now. You can go see it. So you can't sue them. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep, it's like having a miniature microwave on your ear or your body or this and other.
Well, they say not even to have it by your bed. You know what I mean? Because you're still getting the what is it? What is it?
It's electromagnetic fields that kind of disrupt your sleeping and brain. And because every nerve that's in your body, they fire off energons. You have negative, you have positive ions in your body, and they all fire about electricity. Yeah. And when these waves go in there and they disrupt those electricity, guess what? Then those nerves and stuff like that get thrown off. Same with your brain, with your sleep, with your hormones and everything else too. And that's the reason why I really like red light therapy, which again, getting the rays from the sun without the harmful effects of the bad rays that's in there, which I can't even think of right now. But they're all setting like nanometers 850, 750, or 850, 890, 830, 810, which is really good because some of the deeper near infrared actually goes down deeper and penetrate more, like close to the bone.
Yeah,
and
see,
deeper down in the muscle
I didn't whenever I got the red lights that I got the 2 900s, but I'm gonna get some more.
I got 4.
I know. Well, you got a huge setup, but I didn't really read into like the different rays, but I know that I think that these got like 7 different rays. Yep. And, you can play with it, but I just got them turned all the way up. I don't know if that's bad or not. You know what I mean?
I'd have them up definitely in the morning. You just turn them down like when you get ready to go for bed because.
So you do yours twice a day then?
I do, yeah.
Do you? How long do you normally do yours? Because
like
I know it runs for a bit. Because, man, since I've implemented the red lights and all that stuff, even though I get up at 4 a.m., it takes a long time. It does, but it takes a long time to do some of this routine. You know what I mean? You don't realize that, trying to, like, really do this routine of trying to stay healthy, it does take up time. I mean, so in order for me to get through some of this stuff, especially since I implemented praying and reading the word, it's even more time now. So I'm still, I'm trying to get this done so I can also get off to work as well. So I know that my red lights, they'll go up to 20 minutes. But usually I just run about 10 minutes in the morning. I'll do my workout, I'll cold plunge, whatever. And I know that there's a deal I definitely feel the difference. You know,
It makes you just when you invest in yourself, it pays you back.
the red lights are.
They basically mimic the sun,
Yes.
what they do. Because when you get out first thing in the morning, that's how you get your energy.
I think they said the first 30 minutes of the sun coming out, you can essentially get the same effect
with the red light.
but you're getting more powerful effect when
the
you
red
buy the lights and you're able to, you can increase more. But basically, you're talking
Increase your
energy,
mitochondria.
skin, hair growth, collagen,
Yep.
your bone structure.
Recovery.
I mean, this stuff isn't made up. Like
This
you
is
can
signed up
read
big
about
time.
this stuff.
Hundreds and hundreds
There's
and hundreds.
facts. Yeah, it's expensive though. I mean, but
it's
you can
worth
buy
it.
you can buy some
Cheaper
You know,
ones.
like you said,
810 and 850 or something like that, I believe.
one thing.
Near infrared and red. And
Yeah,
infrared.
you could buy some smaller ones, but one thing like you were about to touch on and was you can't put a price on your health. You
It
know,
pays you
people
back. Health is-
people do.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, the first thing whenever people don't got no money, they're cutting back on it. They're eating shittier food, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it's really the dumbest thing ever, but it's the first thing that you cut back on, and really
It's
you
because
cut
of the
your
lack
life
of
away.
information.
Yes.
Absolutely, man.
You know, yeah.
They really, really, really work. Though.
Explain to them about the EMF though, the machine that you're talking
PEMF.
about.
PEMF is like basically it's like grounding because we were never designed to be wearing shoes. So when we're disconnected from the earth, there's a frequency in the earth that actually radiates through our body that tells our hormones, our muscles, our cells in our body to function optimally.
Yes.
But once we get disconnected from that, just like I said, if you take a fish out of water, guess what? It dies. It kills it slow. Well, it dies, but
Yes.
you take a plant out, it doesn't kill it right away, but over time, it slows itself down. Right, for a little bit. Just like if we run out of oxygen, we'll live for a little bit. But it's like grounding and earthing is basically the same thing. It's just taking your shoes off, putting your feet on the ground. And it's, for me, I'll tell you this story. I almost broke my foot sometime last year. And usually, if it was, I kicked a thing and it hurt pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I started learning about earthing and grounding. So that same day, I put my feet out for about an hour. Every day, I was put my foot in the backyard on the ground. And I never got any pain.
Yeah.
The only time I got pain is when if I put a bunch of pressure on. I was in a boot one day, and when I figured that deal, because I got earthing mats or grounding mats, I even have the grounding sheet, man, it changed my life.
Yeah.
And inflammation goes down. What happens is, the biggest thing, you can actually go to YouTube and look this up, is that your red blood cells are supposed to move at a certain speed. As we get older and they start clotting and start clumping, they don't move as fast. But once you start grounding, you start using that PEMF, man, they move really, really fast. And your immune system, everything, the circulation becomes much, much better.
One thing I want to throw out there too is a lot of the stuff that we're hitting on. You don't necessarily have to buy the equipment.
You can earth
I mean,
itself.
like I
Take your shoes off, feet
cold
off.
plunge.
Yep.
I do this.
Natural.
But whenever I go to cold plunge, I take my feet. Obviously I get down to my skimpies or whatever you want to call it, and I put my feet on my concrete floor out there, because it's grounding.
Yeah.
I got grounding sheets.
Yeah, you know about it then.
But I've been implementing a lot of this stuff into there. But I mean, you put me on the red lights and a lot of this stuff, and I think it's very powerful stuff. And
It's free. It's natural from God.
Yes,
It's from the earth. That's what it's for.
And that's
the lights too.
And this stuff is backed by science. This is ancient human being stuff. You know what I mean? Like
And
this
it's
is
natural.
stuff that has been around that we essentially
And you ain't
have
gotta buy
created this lifestyle where we bundle up in the wintertime and you don't get no sun, and
That's why
I mean,
people in houses so much,
even
man. That's the
whenever,
reason why they vitamin
even,
D's and low
even
too.
whenever you looked at whenever you look at the people that got COVID and essentially died of other stuff, their vitamin D was low from lights. You know what I mean?
Being inside the house.
Yes, being inside, bundling up, not getting enough sun on their skin. These things are powerful things. And it's not that you're going to instantly feel anything. So if anybody's thinking that they're going to like try it one time, you can be like, woo, you might get the placebo effect.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Over
when you
time.
start, over
It's like
time.
building a bank account.
Exactly. And when you do blood work and you look at these things, I'm
Look at
telling
those
you, it's going to
markers.
be a change in stuff, man.
It's gonna change your
So
blood
it's
work for
very
sure.
powerful stuff.
Vitamin D is the most powerful hormone that we have for hormones,
Exactly.
recovery, repair.
I think it's
everything.
it's the
And it's free.
The only, I think, is it the only thing that our body produces? I think
Our body produces, but we can still get it from the sun, though.
Yes,
too.
yes. But I think
Melatonin is
it's the only actual vitamin that we actually produce, or hormone. Some people say it's a hormone. It's a
It is a hormone, yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but either way, yeah. I mean, but hey, let's talk about how'd you get into bodybuilding? What made you think about getting on the stage and doing this? I mean, well, I'm just saying, hey, look,
it's a couple things, man. I remember as a kid playing Mike Tyson Punch Out. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah.
Remember Macho Man, we used to come down there, he used to shake his chest and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool, but my uncle was also, too, was really big. He was buff. I said, "Uncle, can you do that there?" And he was boom, boom, man, make his chest move. And ever since then, I told my mom I wanted a weight set. She bought me a concrete weight set, and I've been working out since a kid. And then as you got a little bit older, you kind of forget about that. Then again, my body starts to kind of develop. And then me and Daryl,
because hey, look, you got on clothes, right? Hey, you see this dude whenever I first met him and stuff, man. He's shredded, man. Hey, you know what I mean? Especially if, 50 years old, this dude's shredded, man. You know what I mean? Hey, he's got himself in good shape. I'm dead serious. You know what I mean?
It's a lifestyle for me, man. You know what I'm saying? People
And
make
especially to be natural all the way to 50. You know what I mean? You know, hey, because a lot of people are at least on testosterone replacement therapy or using peptides and stuff, and I don't think there's anything against that. You know what I mean?
Not.
But hey, to be
It's a
natural
choice.
and still do that that's powerful. You know what I mean?
It's a choice, because what I did, man, I've actually learned what it takes. I started eliminating the things that were bringing the hormones down.
Yes.
Again, what we
Yes.
talked about as far as health as well, a lot of the plastics and stuff that we use. I don't cook in plastics. I don't eat out of plastics. I don't drink out of plastics. I mean, unless I'm out of town, then I try to find stuff that's BPA free. But then again, it's still, they leach off up in there. It's just eliminating the small things that actually lower our testosterone, our environment, that raises our, that's why so many guys.
What kind of food? What kind of food you eat?
All red meat.
You know what I mean?
All red meat, man, because red meat is basically man's multivitamin, multimineral. It is the most complete protein, well, next to the complete protein out there that we use that actually not just help build muscle. First of all, whole milk, raw milk, not stuff that's processed, is the best, most complete protein source on earth because it's got the perfect ratio of protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Breast milk. That's the reason why babies grow so much, because of the IGF-1s in there, the growth factors, the fat that's in there. When you are a boy, the breast milk actually makes more fats because we have more testosterone, we have more hormones off of that.
Yeah.
So when a woman has a baby girl, her breast milk makes more carbohydrates. That's why women crave carbohydrates and we crave fats.
Really? I didn't know that.
That's the reason why.
Okay.
So breast milk is the number one most perfect protein out there. Then you have your steak, eggs, and poultry and deals of that nature, man.
Yeah.
And eggs, I like eggs because of the not just the cholesterol part of it, but they have
Man, cholesterol is bad for you, man.
cholesterol. No cholesterol, man. They don't let those guys tell you that stuff. Cholesterol is how we do what we do. Cholesterol is the main mechanism
Your
that's
brain has to have
responsible
it.
for skeletal tissue, regeneration, hormones, everything. And when they put you on a statin and lower it, guess what? That's when your testosterone goes down. People start feeling like crap, and then they have to get on testosterone replacement.
The statin is the number one prescribed
drug.
medication in the United States.
Yeah.
Raw pill, and there's so many older people that I've been in their house, and I start talking about health stuff like this. And they're on cholesterol. My doctor told me my cholesterol is high. Your brain has to have cholesterol. These people have polluted.
They've been misinformed.
Because they want to keep you sick. They want your money, like you said earlier.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Hey,
90% of Americans are sick because of misinformation.
Yeah.
And that's how the doctors stuff like that get paid. My doctor last year, or year before last, he actually quit his practice because they've been
putting pressure on them.
Putting pressure to make sure they prescribe medicine because that's all they know. They've got a couple minutes to see you and they have to go on to the next one. Prescribe as many medications as you can. The good thing about, I guess, RFK or JFK is supposed to be coming in. He's supposed to change all that stuff, man, because so many people been putting on these drugs when you can do it yourself. You don't need drugs. Everything is from the earth. God gave us everything that we need to be healthy.
Yes, yeah, no,
and it's on the earth.
He says it all the time. It's going to be the greatest thing ever, and it's despicable the way that they treated that guy during his trying to become a official, because they've like, oh, he's an anti-vaxxer and all this other stuff. Look, we're the only country that buys poisons from other countries, puts it in our food, and then poisons our people. You know what I mean?
Think about the kids, though, man.
You know what I mean? Exactly, and that's the number one thing. Like, it's crazy whenever you have, I think I forgot how many corporations. There's a handful of corporations that own all the cereals. And when you start looking into all the sugars, and look, I read every ingredients now. Whenever I buy something from the store, I read the ingredients. You know what I mean? For one, I try to stay away from sugar. You know what I mean?
Anything that's processed.
No, I'm not. I still eat a candy bar every once in a while, whatever else. But I'm just saying, in general, like if you read something and it's a paragraph this long of ingredients and you don't know half the stuff, you probably shouldn't buy it. You know what I mean? It's just a no-brainer, but people don't want to take the time to learn. And a lot of people get this concept that, oh man, it's expensive to do this. Look,
it's not going to kill me.
Look, you can buy quality foods. It might not be organics, but look, it's better to buy shit fresh than to buy all this, cereals and all this stuff. But in turn, like you were saying, like we're talking about hormones. For you to be 50 and still be natural, you know what I mean? And you still got a lot of energy, everything. You know what I mean? Look, people are plummeting their hormones, and a lot of people got issues because their hormones are crashed from all the sugars, from all this stuff. Exactly. You know what I mean? And they're just misinformed. They don't have the information. That's another reason why I wanted this. That's another reason why I got my doctor on here Sunday. We're going to be talking about this type of stuff. You know what I mean? I got a whole list of stuff because this is exciting to me, because look, like the red lights, all these different things are essentially could make you live longer. There's proof, like, you know what I mean? And make you feel better.
The whole goal is to have a better quality of life as you age. And the thing is, it's like the Matrix. You have a red pill, you have a blue pill. You have the better quality of life, or you can take this crap over here that's going to kill your life quicker. Make the choice. Life is about choice. Life is about decisions. And every decision you make, it's going to impact your life today, 5 weeks, 5 years, 10 years from now. And how do you want your life to look? You make your decisions based upon the day, and you want your life to look, and then pretty soon you're going to reach that. If you want to look like crap, then keep eating crap. If you want to look better, feel better, man, and then you make those decisions based upon principle. And then you don't go, oh man, I ain't got much time. This, that, and the other. Let me make an excuse. Excuses will always keep you poor. Excuses going to always keep you sick. If you go make excuses, you'll never be what you want to be. You'll never have what you want to have because you make excuses.
What, man, I tell you, I wish you had some videos or footage about, because you've been to the classics, Arnold Classics, everything,
about going,
man.
Next month, actually. I go to Olympia every year. Been going there for like 18 years, man.
Really?
Going down there and seeing those guys, man. It's just been awesome. It's just something that me and the wife it gives us something to do with our vacation.
That's the thing. Does your wife get into lifting and stuff?
She used to when we first got married and so on and so forth. You know how women are. They do what they do to get you, and then after that, they start getting lazy. I'm just gonna leave it there.
I've been trying to get my chick. I'm like, I put this gym in the backyard.
Same
you know
thing.
What I mean? And I try to buy quality food, and she'll get her own groceries. She has her own groceries because she doesn't like eating what I eat. And I just, man, for me, it frustrates me. But then at the same time, it's one of these deals where it's like, I also, man, it's already been past time, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? This is a bit, but I just, I try to tell her because she, like I said earlier, she has anxiety and all this other stuff, and people don't realize they have low energy.
There's a reason why.
When you work out, when you eat a little bit better, when you drink a little bit more water, these things will change your life, and they're so simple. Before running to the doctor to get on a pill or anything like that. But
cost you money, boy.
A lot of people are so misinformed whenever it comes to just exercising alone.
I'm glad you said that too, because people think if you need more money to eat poor, it's going to keep you going to the doctor. It's going to keep you on medication, and it's going to keep you in the hospital. So which one would you rather do? I'd rather pay a little bit more now and be good, which is really not more expensive.
Right.
And then I have to worry about that stuff, man. The one guy who owns the UFC fighting deal, Dana White, he says he'll never go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do things I'm supposed
Yeah.
to do now that I don't need to see him.
Yeah, well, because that Gary Brecka, that Gary Brecka put him on a routine.
Yeah.
Cold plunging, red lights,
All the things that we're doing right now.
eating like a almost a keto or
More type
base,
of-
more red meat. These things are powerful. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? This is backed by science. There's
Yeah.
actual proof. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of research on this stuff, and
it
you know it's the information. Like you said, man. It's all.
Right.
It's every time that I say information or I hear you say information, I just think listening to Cat Williams because I didn't realize how educated Cat Williams was, man.
Very,
Until I
man.
seen him on a podcast,
Yeah.
and that's what he always talks about is information. That's
Yeah.
all. You know what I mean?
That's what
It's
it's
just
about,
all
man.
about information. You know, and it is. It really is. Whenever you
The
know.
more information you have, it's like a mango tree. You ever see a mango tree go to the market to sell its fruit?
No.
Never. Why?
No.
Because once you become the tree, then people come to you. And
Hey,
then
there
you
you go.
give
Yeah,
them
yeah.
the what? The
Yes,
fruit,
yeah.
the information they need. That's why you got to become a tree. I became a tree, man.
Nice. Hey, that's a good metaphor, man. That's good. I like
It
that.
is, man. It's just about seeing things the right way, getting the right information, sharing the right information so we all can be good, man. So we all can be debt-free, pressure-free, stress-free.
So
worry-free.
here goes another thing. What kind of routine as far as lifting wise? What kind of cardio? Like throw something out there. Like how, what you've been doing to kind of, obviously injury free for the most
Yep.
part. You know what I mean? What's a routine look like for you as far as exercise and
Well, my
I love
and
that
why they up at
comments.
3 o'clock is because they're getting work done
Yes.
while people are sleeping.
Yes.
Ain't nobody calling me. There's no distractions. This and that. I can hear clearly.
What
I
time you
get
go to
things
sleep
done.
then?
I'm usually in bed by 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'm usually sleep by 7:30. Somewhere in that area
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
7 to
Yeah.
7:30.
Yep.
So I'm still getting my same 8 hours
Yeah.
worth of sleep,
Yes.
close to it. And it allows me to have energy throughout the day. I don't nap. I'm not tired or anything
Right.
else, It's just something that I do. But I'm usually up about 3 o'clock. I get up. I do my red light therapy. I also do have a vibration plate, which is good for helping circulation at the same
Really?
time.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll do that. And then I get up and I'll go to the gym. I'm usually at the gym by 5 o'clock.
How many days a week we talking?
I usually only train 3 days a week because I learned from Mike Menser and also to this other guy, Mr. Richardson, man. But I'm just more like Mike Menser because what I've learned is as a natural athlete and a guy who takes steroids, a natural athlete can't if you overtrain, you're going to lose muscle.
Yes.
You overtrain, you're going to stay small. Because over the years, I always thought more was better. But
Yeah.
what I learned is less is actually better.
Yeah.
So once I start training 3 days a week, I train maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's been phenomenal. Now I'm starting to get in the gains back when I was like 25 to 30. So my weight is actually going up and I'm actually leaner than when I was because I'm not overtraining. Because
Yes.
if I was on good, then I can train maybe 4 or 5 days a week. But I
Yeah.
usually train legs one day, then I'll train. Sometimes I'll take 3 or 4 days off between sets because
Yeah.
if you ever notice, if you take a week or so off, you always come back stronger.
Yeah.
And the reason you come back strong is because you've been overtraining so much. Your
Mm-hmm.
body needs to recover. Then you have to allow the growth stimulus to take place. And that's how you become stronger. Then you can continue to build muscle.
Yes, that's very important because once you get into the routine, like especially when I was in prison, like man, you just want to try to make it to every yard,
There's something to do.
and it's easy to get injured. But I'm with you. Like I was training like 5 days a week,
Yeah.
kind of like
I did
I
it.
do like a bodybuilding type
Hour,
of
hour and a
style
half,
deal, hour. You know what I mean? Now I broke it down 3 to 4 days.
That's
But
it.
what I'll do is on certain days, whenever I don't lift, I'll put on a weighted vest. I'll walk around my neighborhood, you
Cardio.
know what I mean, for
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yep.
But taking that week off, man, that used to be the hardest thing for me.
Yeah. But it's usually the best.
Yeah, because it helps all your hard
Joints.
tissues grow, and you keep from getting them injuries. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's very easy to get injured. Whenever you're constantly 5 days a week, you're hitting it 6 days. There's people that you ain't got to take a day off and all this other stuff.
Need
To
those
each his
days.
own. Whatever you want to do. I'm
Right.
just saying. I'm at my
Still level of
age.
cover,
I want to be in shape, and I just want to keep injury free and feel
Yep.
good. And that's the only reason I do what I do, and I enjoy lifting weights. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
something that I'll die doing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I mean, I think a lot of people they get into they watch these different influencers and then they
Yeah.
get into these routines. I remember we had one guy had the Arnold Schwarzenegger encyclopedia in the joint.
Yeah.
So hey, we're doing
Good
routines
routines,
like
yeah.
Arnold had a routine where you did legs 10 sets of 10 every day for a year. So
Yeah.
hey, we do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then these people like even Arnold probably don't want to talk about it, but they were using compounds.
Sounds back.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
They got
Yes,
big,
yes.
man.
You know what I mean?
When you're young, you can get away with a lot of that stuff because you will recover a lot quicker. If you take a young kid and you cut him 2-3 days, he'd be healed.
Yeah.
Take an old man, you cut him, maybe take 2-3 months or something, maybe.
The red light therapies and doing all this other stuff
Help with recovery.
that you recover faster.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Hey, it's proven. You know what I mean? You know, these things prove the fact that you recover faster. So these are things that you should definitely implement into your life. Eating healthier, getting rid of some of these toxins.
The gut right now, all your hormones is in your gut.
Right.
So whatever it is that you eat, you affect your hormones by your gut. So that's why you always want to feed the gut what it needs in order to be 100% to be able to do what you telling it to do, to put on the muscle you need to put it on. So
Yeah.
those things like that, man. You know. So again, I know real quick we got to get up out of here, but I just train 3 days a week. I'll train chest and back. I'll take 2-3 days off, and I'll train legs. I'll take 2-3 days off, and I'll train arms.
Yeah.
And I'll train legs again. So I train legs probably 4 times a month, and I train chest twice a month, and I train arms twice a month. That's it. And I've been getting my size back.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, because you're probably like me. Like, I've always had a hard time getting big. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot get big and stay lean, or if I start doing too much cardio, it'll just wipe the weight right off me. Muscle, you know what I mean? And that's the hardest part, is losing the fat. There's a very fine line between losing fat and muscle, and it's very hard to find that line, you know what I mean?
That's why trial and error makes a big difference. You got to make sure you're giving the body enough food, enough energy to do what it needs, but also to enough energy to sustain and also to grow at the same time. Because if you too high, you gain body fat. You too low, you lose muscle and fat.
Yes.
Well, you lose mainly more muscle and more muscle, but still. So you got to make sure you give it just enough to do what it needs to do. And for me, walking is the best form of cardio, period, because it burns pure fat. High intensity stuff's okay. You can do that stuff every so often, but I just walk, man.
Well, I think there's a lot of science on that too. Is just like, look, running compared to walking, you're not really getting much out of it compared to just doing a walk.
That's why it takes more time to do that.
Like with the metformin, there's a lot of science that, look, people that are on metformin, if you just did a 10-minute walk after you ate,
every time,
it's more powerful than metformin.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. But the doctors won't tell you this because they just rather give you some. But not we got to get this thing ended, but what I wanted to do was, I don't think you got, I know, obviously you got the whole weights and everything you sell and everything. So, I mean, obviously for local people, how do they get a hold of you? Is there a way that you got anything like, because, hey, look, anytime you go on Marketplace, a weight pops up.
It's me.
It's you. You know what I mean?
Facebook
and people ask me, like, people see my gym and they're like,
where you get this? Customers, brother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, look, it's legit, man. Hey,
man, we just become family, man. Everybody, man.
The whole point of everything I do in my life, and should be the point of everybody, is to elevate people around you. You know what I mean? Man. Elevate. We're all supposed to be elevating. Yep. You know what I mean? And this the main thing. And man, it's crazy that just over going to pick some weights up at your house. My chick's in the car for probably an hour, and we're just sitting there talking. She was mad, whatever. You know what I mean?
My wife do the same thing.
But now I got you at my house, and this has been a couple years now. We've known each other. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and then there's so many people that I know that are like, oh yeah, I know Josh. I know Josh. I bought some weight equipment from him. So but either way, man, hey, this has been a powerful conversation. We just had church. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
Hey, which is
sharing
crazy.
The information.
You know what I mean?
That's what it's about, man. Giving people the information they need, because sometimes they don't know, man. Every time I talk to, like, not just you, but just people in general, people come to my house. One thing I learned to do is when you talk about, it's how you say things without offense.
Yes.
Because if you try to push something on somebody, you're going to push them away.
Yeah.
You just say stuff. People should know you and should see him just by the way you talk, and then they ask you, and that's when you tell them about him. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I do. I never try to put anything and just, hey, well, how you doing, man? Love, they can just, you can always feel when there's love there. You can feel when there's animosity. You can feel when there's anger. You can feel all that stuff. Man. And it's just our job, brother.
Yeah, man. I mean, so I know you put out your own videos and stuff. You got
Every
a
day,
channel.
Man.
You got something that
Actually,
you're
I
going to
just
do?
started my YouTube channel, man.
Okay.
It's
put it out there.
It's Kingdom. Let me look at that deal, man. It's Kingdom First. And one thing was, man, I actually started my YouTube channel probably about a year or so ago. And then, you expect things to start flying off, and it didn't fly off.
Right.
And I'm like, so I kind of stopped doing my videos because I wasn't getting many people.
Easy to do.
But then again, over the last 3 or 4 months, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put them out. I don't care. I started putting them out. I went from like no subscribe. I got 131 subscribers already.
Yeah.
And every day, man, oh, good word. Oh man, I needed that. Or just, it's not for me though.
Yeah.
And I'm putting out what he's telling me to put out.
It's easy to let yourself think that it's about you. You know what I mean? That's the thing. You know
I know
what I mean?
it ain't about me, man.
That's the thing.
So every day I'm up at 3 o'clock. I get my videos, I put them out there, and I share.
Yeah.
And that's my whole goal is to get everybody to be debt-free, pressure-free, stress-free, worry-free, so we all can have the same. That's the whole goal.
Absolutely. What's the channel, man?
It is actually Kingdom First, man. And then it says His Righteousness. That's
nice.
That's me, man.
Okay. Hey, I got some gifts for you too. I got a hat for you.
Okay, then.
And then I got this koozie and some stickers.
Sweet, bro.
I got a T-shirt for you. It's extra large. And I got a bag of coffee.
Sweet, bro.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if you drink coffee.
Baby, that's what it's about right there, man. Right there. That's that love, man.
I appreciate it. You know, so I guess we'll end this, man. And I just appreciate having you over here, man. And I know some people probably, hey, they might not be into what we was talking about, but hey, look, at the same time,
those are seeds.
Hey, exactly.
You plant those seeds, and those seeds.
I feel like the spirit, just came through this joint right here. You know what I mean? I'm dead serious. I do.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
100%,
and
man.
I mean,
the kingdom is here.
So either way, let's we'll just cut it off, man. Hey, you guys have a great day. And man,
remember,
trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Unless the Lord builds the house, its builders labor in vain.